Hello again, Johnny Hammersticks here. It's week 3 and we're going over mixers. Now, I don't have a mixer per se, but I do have two good examples for you. Here we have a picture of your fairly standard mixer. This top part here is the microphone preamp. This has several inputs including an XLR and a line in, as well as a trim knob labeled here as gain. As you can see, this says balanced and unbalanced, which means it takes TRS and TS cables. Below is a low cut button, which inserts a 75 Hz low cut high pass filter into the channel signal path that rolls off the response below 75 Hz. This is the very lowest fundamental frequency of the male voice and is essentially used to cut off mic thumps and room rumble. These here are input connections. Here is an auxiliary input to control 2-track USB direct connections, which you'll find on some newer mixers. Next to that are the aux sends, FX outs, aux returns, and additional line ins. These allow other external devices to be introduced to the mixer at the line level to provide effects, sounds, and additional pieces of equipment. You'll also notice the +4 and -10 buttons from our previous lesson. Next up are your aux sends for your tracks. Aux sends allow you to route a track to more than one place and control the dry and wet effects going on to that track. Then we have the EQ controls. First up is the compression knob. Comp knobs solely handle audio compression. With this, you can control the sound level's dynamic range. At its maximum setting, low-level sounds and high-level sounds will come out at the same exact level. Then we have the EQ section, which controls your highs, mids, and lows. Sometimes, like in this example, you'll find options to control your high mids as well. This controls the amount of boost or cut for the center range. EQs are not in DAWs, as DAWs generally rely on the inserts that are used. Then you have a pan knob. The pan knob changes the levels between two channels. If a mic is plugged in, its input is mono, while the output of the mic remains in stereo. The pan knob will put this specific track either out of the left, right, or both speakers. You can see balance knobs on the mixer as well. The difference between pan and balance is the fact that pan is used to place a sound to the left or right in the stereo field. An example, separating guitar tracks from piano tracks. Balance just moves the audio source to whichever output side you want it to go to. An example, a whole track will either be played out of the left or right speaker. Then we have the volume faders. These spaces here are the unity gain sections, which will not amplify or attenuate the signal. Above the faders, you'll see mute buttons, which goes ahead and mutes the track in relation. There are also main and sub buttons, which I have zero idea about. Then there's the solo button, which goes ahead and isolates the track and mutes the rest of the other tracks. DAWs react differently, wherein some the solo button turns off other tracks, whereas in other DAWs, you can use multiple solo buttons at once. Over here are your sub-control levels, which handle the volume of subgroups before being sent to the master. And next to it, the master volume faders. Make sure to always keep your levels in the green so that they peak in the yellow, but never go into the red. This will minimize distortion and other noise that can potentially damage your sound system. This leads me into the DAW section. This is Ableton Live 9. In this interface, we can clearly see the sends, as well as the return group, where you can go ahead and insert audio, MIDI, or return tracks. And the next part of the DAW, you'll find that the returns are listed in the channel below. Up here, you'll find your inputs, channels, monitoring options, and output options. To create a bus track, go back to the other window interface and select one of the groups. Hold down Control and click on the next group of groups that you want to add. From there, right-click and then click Group Tracks. There you have it. You just made a bus. Now, if you're a DJ or using a controller with your DAW, it's a lot simpler. Here you have your mains, and then next to that are your individual gain or trim knobs. Below that are your EQs, your filter, and below those are your volume faders. In the middle, down at the very bottom, you'll find your pan slider. In this situation, it works a lot differently. Moving the slider left or right, we'll choose to play either channels or decks 1 and 3, or 2 and 4. These get played out of both speakers. However, they will only play the decks to whichever side they're corresponding. when placed in the center, all decks will be played out of both speakers. That's all for now. I hope you enjoyed this overview. Keep rocking, stay plur, and we'll catch you again next week.